It's funny how quiet the house gets when the dishwasher is running, the kids are gone, and Dan is still at the office. Sometimes I sit at the kitchen table with the hum of the rinse cycle and the wind against the windows, and I wonder how I let everything come so undone. I've been meaning to write this down, to get the story out of my head before it forgets what really happened and replaces the truth with excuses. So here it is. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I should ask for it, but I need someone, anyone, to hear me, even if it's just the pages of this old planner. It started with Lindsay's bachelorette party. We were too old to be doing it like we were 25 again. But there we were, 10 women in a suburban backyard, cramming into sequined dresses and pretending sangria could erase stretch marks or mortgages. There was music. A lot of early 2000s pop. Beyoncé, Nelly. The kind of songs that make you forget how long it's been since someone looked at you like you were a wildfire. I hadn't felt that way in a long time. Dan and we're comfortable, reliable. That's the word people use when they want to compliment you, but accidentally insult your marriage. He's a good man, a great father. He's safe. But safe doesn't see you. Not after 14 years. Safe doesn't brush your arm and make your spine straighten like an arrow. Safe doesn't whisper things that make your thighs tense under a sundress. Ben did. Lindsay's cousin from New York, Ben, arrived late with a six-pack and a smile like he'd never been told no. He wasn't Hollywood handsome. He was casual handsome. Collarbones, veins on his hands, a voice that sounded like bad decisions at 2 a.m. We talked. Nothing serious. He asked if I was married. I said yes, and he didn't flinch. Just nodded, like that wasn't the whole story. He said I laughed like someone who hadn't in a long time. I don't know why, that made my eyes sting. Later, the dancing started. I sat down, my feet already blistering in heels I hadn't worn in years. Ben joined me, 2 cups of sangria in hand. We talked about books, movies, marriage. He said things like, "You ever just want to disappear and start over?" I told him yes. We ended up on the back steps, beneath a sky full of moths and string lights, drunk on summer and self-pity. He kissed me first. His hand brushed mine like an accident, and then his mouth was on mine, soft, asking. I didn't pull away. Not then. Not when he touched my cheek, or my hip, or leaned in again. We weren't kids. We knew what this was. He asked if I wanted to go somewhere quieter. I should have said no. I should have thought of Dan, of Sarah's science project due Monday, of Ethan's loose tooth. But instead, I nodded. We slipped inside. Through the guest room, Lindsay's sister had turned into a changing area. Clothes were piled on the bed. A string of dollar store lights ran along the ceiling. It was clumsy at first, fumbling with buttons, breath caught in my chest, panic rising in my throat. But then his mouth was on my neck, and everything else dissolved. The guilt, the voice screaming, "What the hell are you doing?" Gone. My body was louder. He pushed my dress up around my thighs and kissed places I forgot could still feel this alive. I remember gripping his shirt like it could anchor me, like if I didn't hold on, I might float off the edge of the world. It didn't last long. Not because he rushed, but because my body was already humming with years of silence, with the ache of being unnoticed. It didn't take much. Just hands that weren't used to me. Just eyes that looked like they were seeing someone new. And in that moment, I was someone new. I didn't think about the bed I shared with Dan. I didn't think about the carpool schedule or the grocery list on the fridge. I only thought about how I hadn't felt wanted in so long, I'd forgotten what it meant. After, I sat on the edge of the bed, heart racing, trying to remember how to be a person again. He kissed my shoulder, asked if I was okay. I said yes, and that was it. No promises, no exchanged numbers, just a moment carved out of guilt and lust. I came home before sunrise. The house was dark. Dan was asleep, snoring softly, the way he always did when the AC kicked on. I slid into bed, still smelling like someone else's cologne, and stared at the ceiling until the sun climbed over the windowsill. I kept thinking, this isn't me. This isn't who I am. But that ache didn't go away. Tried to pretend it hadn't happened, to be better, to scrub the sin from my skin and return to some version of the wife I used to be. I made breakfast, packed lunches, forced laughter at the dinner table. But guilt doesn't live quietly. It whispers. Every time Dan reached for my hand. Every time Ethan asked for one more story before bed. And the worst part? Sometimes I missed it. Not Ben, not the man, but the feeling. The feeling of being awake. Claire was the one who noticed. Of course she was. We were at lunch, 2 glasses of wine in, and she asked, "You sure you're okay?" I said yes. I always say yes. I'm fine. I love Dan. I do. God, I do. But that night, after a bottle of Chardonnay and too many tears, the story spilled. I didn't mean to tell her. I didn't want her to fix it. Maybe I just wanted someone to say, I get it. Instead, she told Dan. I didn't find out until I came home to silence. He was in the garage, sitting on the steps, holding a beer and staring like it was a mirror. I know, he said, before I could even set my purse down. I thought he'd yell. I almost wanted him to. I could have handled rage. I couldn't handle the way his face crumpled, like someone had told him his favorite memory was a lie. He moved into the guest room that night. Didn't touch his dinner. Didn't speak to me. Sarah cried. Ethan shut his door and didn't come out for 2 days. The house turned into a museum of what used to be a life. Weeks passed. We went through the motions. School runs, dentist appointments, tax prep. I folded his laundry. He fixed the leak under the sink. But we never looked at each other. And I don't blame him. Because every time I looked at myself, all I saw was a woman who chose feeling over loyalty, who chose moments over a marriage. But it's not that simple. It never is. Dan hadn't touched me in months. Hadn't noticed when I changed my hair. Hadn't asked me how I was, really, since our 10th anniversary dinner. Marriage is long and lonely. And sometimes you forget what it means to be wanted. And sometimes one kiss reminds you. We tried therapy. Once. The counselor said things like emotional disconnection and needs not being met. Dan didn't speak. I cried. We didn't go back. Now it's just cold coffee and clipped conversations, co-parenting and casseroles. He hasn't filed for divorce. I haven't asked him to. We're stuck in the in-between. Not married, not single. Just existing. The thing is, I still love him. I never stopped. But I also love how I felt that night. I loved being wanted, being seen, being a woman, not a role. And I don't know how to reconcile those two things. So, now I write this here. In a planner that still has Sarah's soccer games and Ethan's dentist reminders scribbled in the margins. I write it because maybe someday, someone else will feel the way I felt. Trapped in a quiet house, listening to a dishwasher, and wondering when they disappeared. And maybe they'll stop. Maybe they'll choose differently. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll understand that sometimes love doesn't die. It just grows quiet. And in that silence, we do things we never thought we would, just to feel the spark again. The dishwasher's finished. Time to go pretend I'm fine again. but I know better now. Passion is a fire, but it burns fast. And in the ashes, all that's left is everything you gave up to feel it.